Welcome back, Coco. We are into toys today. We're going to list 22 toys that will make you money in 2022. I want to make this one really quick today, so I'm not going into detail. Just going to bring a few of these ones up. What we're going to work with, we're going to work with the toddlers, we're going to work with the teens, we're going to work with the collectible adults. We're going to go through everyone and see what stuff there is we can sell. Trying to get a little photo for Instagram, little pre-promo to get back into 2022. But I have done a lot of toy stuff before, so if you do like the toy content, there's a few. I'll link them at the end. I'll get a little bit more in depth on them ones, and they are really nostalgic, a lot of vintage and some home runs. So if you do like this sort of content, I'll put it at the end for you. First of all, Transformers. This is going through a few eras here. Vintage obviously goes for good money. It's not an area that I'm really smart with, but you can find them loose in op shops often for $1-2, and that's the modern stuff. They bundle really well, they sell in lots for good money. Some vintage stuff can go for hundreds. Transformers is always one to watch out for. Just make sure it isn't the knockoffs. If it is a bootleg, list it. If it's a fake, don't even put it up. We're going for the young kids here. Paw Patrol. Paw Patrol stuff sells. These couple of little dogs, it's a TV show that's currently on. Kids absolutely froth on it. My son's obsessed with it. And some of the Paw Patrol stuff is super expensive, new to buy. So it is a good RA opportunity. Some of the ones that are harder to get, so some of the characters, not like these ones, but some of the lesser characters that don't get made as much will sell for good money. Definitely worth picking up. While we're on the dog theme, we're coming down here under in Australia. Bluey, this annoying little parasite of a dog, is a TV show. For those unfamiliar with it, the young kids love it. It's another RA opportunity. Sometimes the Bluey stuff does get cleared, then sells online, particularly to other countries. So it's worth looking at, but sometimes you just find these little buggers sitting in those bins in op shops. They will bundle up really good and sell for pretty good money.
Oh boy, my eggs are hatching!
Dinosaur Train. I've touched on Dinosaur Train before. Always pick this stuff up because it always moves so well for me. There's usually you can get them for under $5, under $5, and they work really well in bundles. A lot of these ones actually speak. They've got buttons on them and shit, and you can hear them talk. So you can put them all together in a bundle, and sometimes these little bundles go for $100, and generally you can be invested in them at maximum $10. So Dinosaur Train is definitely another kiddie show to look out for.
My favourite station is said Thomas. Mine's Maithwaite, said Toby. Percy, what's yours? Percy was too to think properly.
Thomas the Tank Engine. We all know Thomas. We all probably grew up on Thomas, and Thomas is still going strong, soldiering on down those tracks. Now, some of the small steel trains sell really well. They actually can go for good money. They're really collectible for adults now. Some of the modern stuff goes well for kids. So it's a win-win almost in any Thomas thing you get. As I will say with any of this stuff, always comp it out first. Don't pay too much. For Thomas the Tank Engine, I'm sure you're familiar with it. It will sell this year as it has for the last 20 years. Jurassic World, Jurassic Park. I did a video a long time ago about the RA that I did on the Jurassic World figures. Since then, they've made more, and it's still ticked along pretty well. It's one where you've got to really go hard on comps. You've got to be there in the moment. You've got to be there in the moment because some of the high prices only last 2 weeks. So you've got to be on your game with Jurassic Park, Jurassic World stuff. But quite often, you still find it loose in op shops and finding it regularly. And some of the individual figures can go for $20 plus ship. That's $30 on potentially $2-3. So Jurassic World, still look for it. Look for the little logo on them. They sell pretty good. You know I love my wrestling. I had to get on the wrestling here today because there's so much value in wrestlers. The op shops are sadly getting onto it without any knowledge of what the particular wrestlers are, which does hurt a little bit. They will overprice some basic wrestlers, but in saying that, there's still a lot of value. You got your basic wrestlers like Seth here. They are generally a good bundle one. You got your elite, which we've touched on the elites before. They potentially can sell anywhere between $20 and $100 just on their own loose. Depends on the rarity. The Hasbros, I'm a big fan of the Hasbros. I've touched on these on this channel a lot, and also the LJN, the rubber figures. So wrestlers in general, it's always worth looking at. Google Lens is your best friend if you don't know who you've got, but vintage is a win. Just don't pay up for those basic ones because you can get stung.
And my personal favorite, Lonely Space Vixen. That's for after you go to bed.
Rugrats. You remember Rugrats? I grew up on Rugrats. Now, I've got some little Rugrats here. The Rugrats was such a good show. And these are actually from 1997 Mattel, these little fellows here. I do want to get them all because they are super cool. But Rugrats still sells really, really good. And look, you don't find it all the time, but there is, you know, a few floating around out there. When you get them, it's definitely worth jumping on them because they will make a couple of bucks. And that goes for the Nickelodeon products from the 90s because it's so nostalgic now. You may remember when I picked up Ren. In the thrift trip. I never actually listed Ren, he was just too cool, he had to go on the shelf. So Nickelodeon in general is really good, but the Rugrats can sell, and it is really collectible now. And the bigger figures with the vinyl heads, they sell really good. Captain Planet, going back into my era, everyone loved Captain Planet. Do you remember Captain Planet? Well, just recently I sold this little lot here of just random mixed figures. The Captain Planet was a bootleg, and I was actually missing one of the Planeteers, but we still netted a really good price on them. I don't see these regularly. They are a bit harder to find. I have got these in bulk lots majority of the time. I have found a couple of Captain Planets in the wild in op shops. So definitely keep your eye out. You know who Captain Planet is. If you do spot them, it's worth getting because you will get a couple of bucks out of them. Power Rangers. We grew up on Power Rangers, and recently I got a bulk lot of toys and it had all the flip heads in it. Now, if you don't know what the flip heads are, these little buggers here where their head actually spins around. Bundled up, over $100 on them for the whole lot. So I've found these pretty regularly, or somewhat regularly I suppose, in op shops, these particular ones. So it's worth maybe grabbing them, bundling them if you can't find one or two. Throw it in a bundle, buy it on eBay. Go and get the one that you're chasing off of eBay, and you might be able to complete your bundle. But general Power Rangers from the 90s do bundle well. The bigger versions here, the villains are my particular favourite. I've got them in there on the shelf. It is a good line. It's a highly collectible line, and it always will be. Some of the modern stuff I don't touch because it just doesn't go for as good a money. We all love our favourite neighbourhood hero, Spiderman, and I love him in particular because he sells really good. Now, at the moment, that's been selling better because of the movie hype, and that's one thing I'll quickly touch on. If there is movies coming out, you can look into the future of about 2 years of what movies are upcoming. Sometimes it's worth investing in things because they will pop up and go in a higher price when those movies come out. For example, Spider-Man, going really well at the minute. If you know there's something coming out in 2 years, maybe look into it. Something that's selling now for $8, $9 on eBay, you might be able to sell for $30, $40 because the supply dries up and then there's a huge demand for it. So it's definitely worth something when it comes around. But anyway, these particular ones, some of these Spider-Man figures are going well anyway. From the 02, the original OG movie, Tobey Maguire, some of that stuff can go for really, really good money. I've been selling a lot of Spider-Man stuff. I got a big bulk lot of Spider-Man stuff recently, and individual toys going for $30 is really good. When you're going to find these in op shops for $1, $2 max. Villains are usually going to be worth more because they are harder to get. They weren't as many made, like the Green Goblin here. This guy's actually sold for $80 in the past, so it's definitely a franchise to look at. Marvel, DC, all that stuff, superhero stuff, is always worth looking at anyway, especially vintage. We're just having spills here. But I'm always looking at the superhero stuff. I avoid bootlegs in superhero generally, unless it's old, but superhero. Lego, it's not an area of expertise for me, Lego. But there is so much money to be made. You can find it on Facebook Marketplace, Gumtree. I know of people personally, I don't do it, but I know people that buy a lot of Lego at auction on eBay. There's also auction houses, and people are buying some pretty rare Lego on there for decent prices. But the good thing with Lego, it's so easy to comp because the little code at the top, there's a lot of retired Lego. So you can actually look up what's retired, which means they no longer make it. So it can go up in price and it can end up being worth a lot of money. Lego, we all know it. It's not a game that I'm fully in, but it's something that I'm going to start doing a bit more research. If you've been following my channel for the last few months, you'd see I picked up a big lot and sold it for $400 or something crazy like that. Some of these monster high dolls are worth big money, especially sealed. Now, I know there's a bit of hype around them at the minute throughout the community. I know there's a lot of people who have actually been picking these up and selling them. So, it doesn't mean the market's going to tank. They're still hard to get, some of them. Some of them are super rare. But bundles I've found in my personal experience that bundles went well. Since I got that lucky $5 lot, I've actually purchased another lot at a higher price and sold that for a good profit too. So, monster high dolls, if you do see them, especially if they are complete with their accessories, jump on them. While we're on the doll theme, Bratz dolls. If you've ever come across Bratz dolls, very similar theme to the monster high dolls. These things are selling for really good money and they are selling so fast. The speed of these things is absolutely ridiculous. You are spotting these just in little tubs at op shops and they've only got a couple of bucks on it. Get them, probably, well, Google Lens it first, see if it's worth a couple of bucks. If not, put it aside, make up a little bundle and you will get some good money out of them. Pokemon sells so good. I don't have much Pokemon stuff here at the minute. I was RAing a lot of stuff when there was the Pokemon card hype. A lot of toys, modern toys, were doing really well for me. But vintage Pokemon, particularly OG stuff, even the little tiny toys can sell for really good money. The Tomy toys are really good, worth looking at. Being very careful because a lot of Pokemon stuff gets faked. If there's no branding on it, I potentially wouldn't even take the risk of listing them on eBay because there is the risk of getting a big fat kick up the arse. My Little Pony. Who's into those? Have you ever heard of the guys that are like hardcore into it? And they call themselves brony. They go to meets, they hang out, they dress as little ponies. It's different. It's different. But each their own. No judgment. No judgment. If you're a brony, you're a brony. Give me some high fives for all the bronies. Anyway, My Little Pony is really, really popular for young girls, nostalgic girls, and 40-year-old men that think they are a little pony. But obviously, it sells. There's such a wide audience for the My Little Pony stuff, and this is something that you will see a lot of in op shops. And I'm sure you're thinking to yourself, I passed on a lot of that stuff. Definitely worth checking out because some of it can go well. If not, it can go in bundles. And this is a big theme of what I'm talking about here. Doing bundles is the best way of selling a lot of this stuff. If you are not interested in parting these out, selling them individually, it is worth checking if some are worth a lot of money first and then just chucking them in bundles because you'll get a good return on your investment. Because if you are only purely looking in op shops and garage sales, you're probably not paying much. So My Little Pony, definitely have a little geezer at it.
Okay, I'm watching this and everything is pink and fluffy and cutesy and smiling and giant eyes, and why am I watching this? Oh my god, this is awesome, I can't stop.
Something I've touched on a little bit on this channel and I want to touch on it again is Mighty Max and Polly Pocket. These are little play sets where you have little characters and it's a little base there and you can cruise around. I had these as a kid, the Mighty Max, and I was obsessed with these toys. They are super nostalgic for me, but Mighty Max, look, it's a harder one to find. On the availability scale, it is up there in hard, especially complete. But I have seen these pop up in little bulk lots on eBay, Gumtree, and Facebook before. And generally, incomplete, just for a base like that, you're gonna get about 20 to 25, maybe 30 bucks, depending on rarity. Some are rarer, you might get a bit more money. But I'm always keeping my eyes peeled for this stuff. And also, if you only find the teeny tiny little parts, they sell too because people have lost them. So win-win. If you can find them buried down the bottom of a tub somewhere, or a little bulk lot that you purchase, grab them. See if you can get a couple of bucks. There's a little Rex going on there. What's going on, Rexy? Yeah, big wanker. Anyway, Toy Story, we all know it. We all know what's going on. Disney, Pixar. These are mostly a bundle toy for me. If I see these figures for under $1, I will get them because they just bundle up really well. But the original toys from the original first movie from the 90s, obviously being vintage, can go for good money. Signature collection, huge coin. It's absolutely ridiculous for the signature collection, really rare. The likelihood of finding them, very minimal, but the likelihood of finding Toy Story stuff for under $2 is very high. Sometimes you might get a big Buzz Lightyear or a Woody that gets overpriced in an up shop, but most of the time, super cheap. It'll bundle. You can make someone's absolute day by selling them a bundle of Toy Story stuff. Ghostbusters. Now, Ghostbusters was huge in the 80s, and we got old matey from Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters toys do not sit long for me at all. They sit well for me. They don't sit long. In the 80s, everybody wanted Ghostbusters figures, and they couldn't get them. Every kid couldn't get them because there was none left. They were all sold out. So now there's a huge demand for them because that nostalgia factor kicks in. You know, the blokes from that era, late 30s, they didn't get the toys. They want them now. So some of them are buying them to collect them. Some people just generally collect toys. But even the modern stuff sells pretty good too. So if you do find some recent stuff, it sells well. The only ones that I find particularly don't is the latest movie with the ladies in it. That's not a sexist dig. It's the movie just sucked. The movie sucked. It was shit. Nothing against the ladies there. They did a good job, but it wasn't a very good movie. I'm sorry. But anyway, Ghostbusters does sell well. It's one always look out for. The Simpsons, the yellow Simpsons. And I'm sure if you see Simpsons, you pick them up every single time. Now you can get some vintage stuff. Early old stuff in bundles goes well. The small collectible things do really good too. Bundles for Simpsons is usually my favourite way to go, but it's definitely worth comping them out individually because you might just get that sneaky one that's worth 20, 30, 40 bucks on its own. You never really know. It's always worth double checking these things, and then, you know, for me personally, anything that's not worth probably 15 bucks goes in a bundle. And for number 22, Tarzan. Remember him? Oh shit, yeah, he was awesome. Got a couple here. Now these came with playsets from the 1999 Disney movie. Tarzan has a huge following. Just quietly behind the scenes, Tarzan sells really well, especially these guys. These have actually sold for $40 on their own, but they do come with accessories, and you got the, you can get the monkeys and all the other bits and pieces with them as well. I bag them up and sell it as a lot. Disney in general, we all know Disney goes well, these Disney shows and movies and whatnot. But I wanted to pinpoint Tarzan because I've seen this figure quite a few times. I think I may have had it. I can't remember fully, but when I first found him, he looked familiar. Since then, I've found him a few times. I also got him in a bulk lot, and it sells so good. It's really good money, and it's not something that I would have expected, but that is something that you can find in those tubs of toys in the op shops. Whew. Well, there you go, Coco. That's 22. I can't count that well. That's actually technically 23 because Nighty Max and Polly Pocket went on the same thing. But they're just a few that the likelihood of you actually finding these are pretty high. I know I like to show off my bolo items, my home runs, but a lot of this stuff, well, some of them will sell for really good money, but a lot of this stuff you can find every week. If you do like this sort of stuff, let me know, and I can do another 22. We can bring it up to 44. We can get 44 little bangers out for this year. So if you do want to see more of that content, please let me know below. And how many of these particular items do you sell on a regular basis? Because some of these do really well for me. Some of them, I don't do a lot of. I've mentioned Transformers and whatnot isn't something that's my niche. Lego's not my niche. I just know it sells well, so I wanted to share that. So I've picked out probably 22 of maybe 122 that I like. So that's all for me today. Happy to get back into 2022 and talk toys because I love talking toys. We're going to go hard this year. We are going to smash goals together. and all I want you to do is celebrate every little win you have. It's all you got to do this year. Continue to charge on. We got this. We got this. It's been tough times the last couple of years, and I'm stoked to be back. Stoked to be back into it, and we're ready to go. So thank you very much for watching, Coggo, and I'll see you in the next one. Here's a little bonus one for you that I forgot to mention, which brings us to technically 23. PJ Masks. PJ Masks is a little bit of a banger, so definitely look out for that too, because it's super popular with the kiddies at the moment. So PJ Masks, there's another one on your list. There you go. Just full of it today. Anyway, I've made a lot of these toy videos in the past, so I'll put them up around here and you can have a look at them.
So who's looking forward to the film? Yeah.